What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining me tonight. My name is Dylan. I'm the host and producer for Survivor Millennium Park. Oh my gosh, I can see the comments coming. This is so cool. I haven't live streamed ever, so this is really awesome. Uh, Thank you for joining me tonight. Tonight, what we're going to be doing is going over a little bit of, what is Survivor Millennium Park and what have we got coming up in our upcoming season that I'm super, super excited to share with everybody. Couple of couple of housekeeping things real quick. Just want to start with a huge thank you to the Live Reality Games team for making this happen, especially Dustin, who spent like 30 minutes with me earlier tonight making sure that I knew how to do this. Super appreciate the help with this, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with this tonight. I also want to thank uh, real quick. I'm going to be thanking them throughout this because this literally wouldn't have happened without them. We had this year an incredible crew on site with us who made this happen. We had between players and crew members like 30 people at Millennium Park filming this season of Survivor. It was absolutely incredible. I was dead set against doing a second season, and then all of a sudden, so many wonderful people that I know told me like, "Hey, if you do it, I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll hold the iPhone. I'll make it happen." So there would be no reason for me to be speaking to you tonight without those wonderful people. So uh, super appreciative of them, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that later tonight. But we'll jump into it with a little bit of what is Survivor Millennium Park. So, as the name implies, it is a very small scale version of the game Survivor, filmed in Boston at Millennium Park. Uh, Big, beautiful park. We've got these really incredible forest areas where we do, tribal councils. We've got the camp set up. We've got these wide open athletic fields for the challenges. So it's really a very perfect location for something like this, and it's right down the street from my house. So like what's not to like? Um, Something to explain a little bit, how is Survivor Millennium Park different than some of the other Survivor games that some of you might be familiar with? Our game is totally focused on the strategy and social elements of the game. There's no overnight, there's no, camping out in the woods, and you don't have to make a fire. I actually tell the players they're not allowed to make fire. Some of them fight me on that. But it's entirely focused on like how well can you read people? How well can you make really quick relationships? How can you navigate that within the game? I also think, I like to say that a lot of the focus for like what we're looking for in terms of like how we build a season is we want the vibe of like a board game night, but stretched out over a weekend. We're not looking for, who's going to cause the most like reality TV drama, though it does inevitably happen when you put cameras in front of people and have them play kind of a high pressure game. But, like we want people to meet people that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to meet. We want people to make friends with each other. We want people to bond. I think that a lot of the focus of the edited product version of it is the comedy of the weekend. I think that we have uh, I would dare to say I think we have a uniquely funny show for Survivor Millennium Park. Again, going back to the incredible crew that we have that makes it all happen. We have so many confessionals to pull from. Actually, I got a very nice comment on the LRG Discord a couple weeks ago from a person who said, the of all the games I've seen, the one that feels closest to watching Survivor is Survivor Millennium Park. I have no idea how he captured all of those confessionals, and it's because I have this really incredible team who pulls players, whether they want to be pulled or not, pulls the players to say, "What are you thinking?" Like that conversation that you just had with that other person, you were whispering the entire time. Dylan can't use any of that footage except for B-roll. Tell me right now, what did you talk about? What are the outcomes? What's happening going forward? What's your opinion about that person? Things of that nature. So I really view these productions as, part game, part show. Game show. Really clever stuff here you guys are getting for this. But no, I think that for me, what comes natural is the focus on the show and think about the experience for the viewers. I want the viewers to enjoy it, but really the main thing that I want out of this is that the people who participate have like a cool thing to show their friends and family at the end of this. That at the end of it they can be like, look, like here's what it would look like if I was on TV. I'm seeing some of the nice comments coming in the chat. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Uh, to really put the thought into like, all right, like how are we setting up these shots? the crew, we had a lot of crew members this year who were gracious enough to not only give me the one whole weekend at Millennium Park, but who actually came the weekend before to like do some training of like, all right, for this challenge, like if the players are doing this, we need the camera crew here. At Tribal Council, like these are the optimal spots for the camera crew to be. I'm seeing a little season 1 reunion. Hey, Andrew. Hey, Tony. Hey, Julia from season 2. Thank you all for joining us. But I think that an area for me that I think between season 1 and season 2 that I had to grow in was like the game design. So I actually brought in some of the players from season 1. Zach, Tony, and Andrew came in, and they helped really think through a lot of the different game elements. Because I'm like, look, guys, like I know what my experience was running around, getting severely dehydrated at the park, but like, what was it like as a player? Like what can we work on? So I think the challenges got bumped up for this season. We really thought through how do we design challenges in a way that, at least for the team portion, that it can't just come down to like one person wins the whole thing for everybody. You can't you can't have an anchor person who just dominates everything, right? How do we create challenges that force them to work together and to test a variety of skill sets, right? And then other things like the camp life. I think that I gotta give Andrew a shout out for the smallest, biggest suggestion that we implemented. I don't know that for the viewers it changed anything, but like for me as like the storyteller changed everything. The players don't put their bags in the main camp anymore where they're sitting. They put them like near the entrance. So they have a reason to like use more of the camps. Obviously, when there's no survival component, there's no like, oh, let me go get some water at the water well. There's none of that. There's no like, oh, let me go scavenge for supplies. There's none of that. But if I tell you, hey, you have to put the bug repellent 20 feet away from where you're sitting all day, now they have a reason for, oh, I'm going to go get bug repellent. Do you want to come too? And then they can chat with each other. So little things like that we really try to think through, like, how do we improve the experience as well for the players and for the game? I think what the last thing I'll say for like what is Millennium Park that I think sets it apart from some of the other Survivor LRGs, I put a lot of focus in making sure that the series is jam-packed with only like the best of the footage, right? The episodes are short. I've seen a lot of LRGs. The episodes are coming out like an hour 30. Frankly, like, do I have enough footage for that? Absolutely do. But to me, I kind of like the idea that like you could sit down and like marathon this in one day. And I kind of think it's a little bit optimal too. I think that when you get to kind of watch it, you catch some like the little subtle nuances of some of the players. This isn't like anything brilliant that I'm doing. It's just like you get to kind of watch the players like shift in perspective over time. I'm really proud of the fact that season 1 clocks in at like 4 hours, like so many hours of footage condensed to like a 4-hour thing, trimmed all the fat. So it's just like the best content, like the most interesting dynamic shots. Unless there's a specific need for it, you're never going to see a shot in Millennium Park that lasts longer than 20 seconds. Unless I really had to show you like something longer than that, we're going to cut to another visual. So I think that's been something that audiences really appreciated, is the editing component that goes into it. A lot of work has gone into that. And I've gotten a few compliments here and there on my Jeff Probst impression. So I hope you guys enjoyed that in season 2 as well. So with that all being said, I do want to jump actually, before we get to the questions, I have a thing I wanted to show everybody. So for those of you who follow us on Facebook or Instagram, we had a little teaser go out. This year, we had a special guest star join us at the park to play the role of like a special guest co-host with me for the first episode. So I'm going to give just a little teaser here. Let's see if I can get this to work. We've got a great game planned for you guys, and I could stand before you and I could try to give you a taste of what to expect. But objectively, I've never played Survivor. I don't know what it's like to be out there, to be strategizing, to be scheming. But luckily, I know somebody with a little bit of experience with that. I'm very excited to welcome to the park. I love the little dramatic Survivor music and fade to black. That gets me. It gets me every time. At the very least, I do this kind of for my own amusement. I see Andrew in the chat. Dylan's Jeff Probst track is great. That's kind of what it is. Yeah, I think he probably deserves royalty checks from me. I don't know. So I'm gonna get into some of the questions, but my last plug for the new season we got coming up. Survivor Millennium Park season premiere for season 2, Sunday, January 29th. new episodes every Sunday. I think they're going to be coming out at like 10 a.m. Just because, like, why wait? Let's get in there. Let's watch the episode as soon as we want. So it's out at 10 a.m. and then it's available on demand. By which I mean it's a YouTube video. In terms of some of the preseason content that's already out, I really had a lot of fun putting a lot of stuff out there to kind of just sort of like build. It's not even so much about building hype. It's just so much to say like we have so much stuff. Let's show you guys as much as possible. So we've got a preview of the first episode, the first 5 minutes of the episode already up on our YouTube channel. We've got the theme song for you Survivor fans. I think you'll be amused by it. I included some of the the old school theme song components. We've got a meet the cast video up, only like 20 minutes, gives you a little bit of like a preview of who all these people are, a little bit more about their background information, as well as a cast assessment that I recorded right before the season. How did I do? I guess you'll have to watch to find out. I did make a winner pick, which is feeling pretty bold. So definitely go check that out on our YouTube channel. And let's throw this out as well. If you're interested, leave a comment with who do you think the special guest host is. Like I said in the little teaser I just played, former Survivor player, beloved by the community, and there's a connection with me, this person, in live reality games that we'll get into when we get to the reveal at the end. So how's that? I'm only 12 minutes in, and that was supposed to take 5 minutes, so we're doing great on time, you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. So let's get to some of the fan questions. First up, and these are these are just in the order that I went to Instagram on them on. Olivia asked, hi, Olivia. Olivia and I used to work together. Thanks for submitting a question, Olivia. Olivia asked, is this year better than last year? So what I'll say, and this is going to be a controversial one because I see we have a couple of season 1 players in the chat. I would say this season is stronger in terms of the finished product is certainly stronger because I was smarter about running the game and running the show. I could think of, like I said, some of the structural changes to the game in terms of like, all right, like how are we choosing challenges, but also things like more interesting twists were used, better planning for the space of the park, things like that kind of like, because of that, things got a little more visually dynamic when we're filming. The crew received better training from me, and also more crew members obviously helps. But we were able to talk a little bit more about like, all right, when you're pulling people for confessionals, right? What kind of things are you asking them about? It's not just like, oh, can you recap for me what's happening? But it's like, what's your place in the tribe? How do you feel about like the moves that you're making? Is Survivor a mean game? That's a question that we got into a couple of times. I think Tribal Council is the same thing. One of the here's my like old man yelling at cloud thing. If you're watching modern Survivor, the Tribal Council segments are terrible. You can tell that they're padding them out. Boring questions. We're not getting into the meat of anything. So I really wanted to use the Tribal Council time in Survivor Millennium Park to talk through like, all right, what are the tribe dynamics? What can we talk about at Tribal that I know is not being talked about at the camp and that I know is not being talked about in confessional? So we like to ask questions of like, all right, like is a leader standing out on the tribe? How will you know that the right decision is being made? What criteria are you factoring in? Like, what do you need to do right now? Because Tribal Council is where you face the consequences for your actions in this game. What do you need to do now to make sure that you don't come back to Tribal Council again? I think season the one thing I could say that the season 2 can never take from season 1 is I personally had more friends playing in season 1. It's like that's always going to be a higher investment for me. It just I am who I am. I'm biased, but it is what it is. But I think season 2, I think is going to be an exceptionally strong viewing experience. So I'm really excited to share it with everybody. Another question from Olivia. Will there be any John Ton sightings? John Ton is on the crew for the season, so you will see him in the background of a couple of shots. You'll actually see, I think most of our crew members make an appearance in a background shot at some point or other. So keep an eye out for some of the other season 1 players who helped out. And here's a little preview for you. John Ton, a very noted player from season 1, has a personal connection with one of the players in season 2. And I think I cut this from the Meet the Cast video because it comes up later in the season. So keep an eye out for who John Ton knows. Question from Stephanie Yee on Instagram. When is Tony going to play Game Changers? That would be Tony from our first season. Look, I think the question for Tony is, does Tony want to come play Millennium Park All Stars, or does he know that he's going to get voted out first, so he'd rather help me run it? So Tony, that's the question for you. Uh, Lizzie, who was one of our crew members from this season, Lizzie asked, which player surprised you the most? For season one players, I think the one who surprised me the most. Oh, and I guess if you haven't seen season one, we're going to get like light spoilers. I won't try to say anything too explicit, but like spoilers, go watch it. It's only 4 hours. Pause this, go watch it, come back. Season one player who surprised me the most, Woo. Woo came in, and I think that she was, I don't know like what she was expecting from the experience, but when she realized that things were not going her way, she fought so hard to turn things around. I was very impressed once I got to see the footage and see how that all played out. That she really hustled to try to turn things around at the last minute for herself. So really got to respect that. And here's a fun fact for you. A few of the players from this season competed in another LRG hosted by Zach from season one of Millennium Park called The Genius Massachusetts, based on The Genius, the South Korean game show. Woo went on to compete in The Genius Massachusetts and came in third place. So, maybe Millennium Park season one wasn't for her, but then she found the game that she excelled in. Another question from Lizzie. Which crew member is your favorite and why is it Lizzie? Again, I can't emphasize enough. The crew were absolute rock stars this year. Season one, the crew, worked so hard with only 5 people. It's actually kind of a miracle that we pulled it off the first year. And I think these games are always kind of a miracle to pull off, right? But again, cannot emphasize enough, having 3 times as many crew members was such a lifesaver. Was super appreciative to the crew members who reminded me to drink water. That was really helpful. And I could just think of the moments where I was like so like overwhelmed with like the experience of it all. I could think of like being out of breath at like the top of the hill and realizing like, oh my God, I've got to run all the way back up there and get this thing. And like one of the crew members would just be like, hey, I've been down here for 20 minutes. Like, just give me your car key and I'll go get what we need. And me being like, oh, right. There are other people here who are eager to help. So that I could not have been more blown away by that. I really could not have been more grateful for that. That was just really incredible. Really meant a lot to me, actually. Not to get too personal on a live stream. Another question from Lizzie. Would you do a third season? So like I always say I'm not going to do another season, right? I insisted that I was not going to do a season 2. And then I got lunch with Zach and John Ton, and they talked me into it. So it's just a matter of time before somebody talks me into doing season 3, right? So never say never. I really think the question is one, like, is there the crew to make it happen? I've learned that this is not a thing that can be done on a skeleton crew. We do need a lot of people to make this happen. I think the other question is like, what do I want to see? What have we not done that I'm interested by? Season 1 of Millennium Park, I'd hosted 3 other seasons of Survivor before that called Survivor Berkshires back in 2013, 2014, and 2015. I had never done a 14-player season, so was kind of interested by that. Had never done a season with people who were not high school or college students, so was interested by that. So once I had like an idea for this season, I was like, okay, now I know like what do I want to see play out in this format. So I need to like figure out what that is. I'm not just going to do a third season for like the sake of a third one, but we'll see. Anything's possible. Another question here. What made you choose Millennium Park to film in? So for anybody who doesn't know, we're filmed in Millennium Park in Boston, which is just like a big, beautiful park, not Millennium Park in Chicago, which I think has the bean. I know I didn't know that was what that park was called in Chicago, that it's also called Millennium Park. So egg on my face for those search engine optimization results. Am I right? Millennium Park, huge, beautiful park. Like I said, like this like big wooded area where like you can put the teams, and like there's areas for like challenges in there and like tribal council, like you can hide things in the woods for them to find. Also these big open athletic fields for them to do challenges. Porta potties on location, which is nice. Although I do know some of the players opt to just be in the woods. And most importantly, it's close to my house, which is key. Actually, the first time we did one of these, I thought it was gonna be like similar structure to the Survivor Berkshire seasons that I used to host, which included a 2-hour lunch break, so I could go home and like film or charge the phones that we were filming on. Until my wife was like, Dylan, nobody's gonna sit at the park for 2 hours while you go charge your phones. And I was like, well, that's a good point. Yeah, okay. Let's get lunch catered. That'd be perfect. That's the other thing with Millennium Park that I don't know if other games do. We cater lunches. Nobody goes hungry. There's no survival to it at all. Um, Another question from Lizzie. Thanks, Lizzie, for all the questions. I actually really appreciated that. Lizzie says, budget is not a consideration. Where do you host your next season? I film it in Fiji. I call it Survivor Fiji, and Jeff Probst has to go film in a park. That's like my fun answer. Legitimately, if I could film it, I would love to do a season on the Cape. I actually for Emma from season 1. For her birthday one year, she had me host a Survivor game for her. She's not a Survivor fan. She just knows that I host these. So she's like, oh, that'd be fun. Like, Dylan could host a game for me to win. That sounds great. So we filmed on the Cape. It was just kind of cool aesthetically to like have things on the beach and, like then like be back at a Cape house for some of it. So like I would actually be kind of interested in like a Cape Survivor if I had the, money for that and like resources to like get people out to the Cape. Justin from season 1 submitted a couple of questions. First, he said, what was your favorite move or moment in season 1? Favorite moment has got to be the confessional from Jean, I think in episode 4 after her team's gone to their first tribal council, where she talks about like she doesn't like being in an alliance. She understands that like that's how the game works, but like she doesn't like she just voted for somebody because like she was with a group of people and he wasn't. So I love the idea of like people struggling with the game, like the moral dilemma that comes in with it. I'm really big into casting people who are not diehard Survivor fans. Love to get the diehards, love to give them the opportunity to play this game that they love. I think that's really wonderful, but I also really love to get people who are just like looking for a new experience and to try something new. Hopefully it's not like traumatic for them to play like a high emotional stress kind of game like this. But I hope that it's kind of like an interesting like thought experiment of like, what would you do? And then you're actually there. You have to put pen to parchment and decide like, what choices am I going to make during this? So that was a favorite moment. For me, favorite move. I don't know if I have I think favorite move. I even wrote down my answers to make sure like I kept going. I don't know. I have to think about my favorite move because there were a lot of like really subtle little interesting ones. Like you could look at like, Tony's fake idol and you could say like, well, that didn't work. But like it like almost did in a really interesting way, where like, Justin has not seen the real idol, but his allies have. So his allies know Tony is a fake, but Justin doesn't know. So Justin like has to consider like, am I changing the plan last minute? So like that was a really interesting move. Zach's attempted assassination on Kim, a failed move, but like an incredible episode. The feedback from that one, where people say like that one was like watching like a real episode of Survivor, like that meant a lot to me. That people really enjoyed that one. So I'd have to say those are a couple of standout favorites from season 1. Justin also asked, and I knew he was going to, who would you have voted for if you were on the jury? Justin, what you need to know about me, which you might not know because every time I play your online games, I go out pre-jury, is I really I've never played one of these in person. I've played a few online because I'm a huge geek. Every time I played an online one, I always vote for who I think is going to get second place. I think 98% of the time I vote for the person who I think is going to get second place because it's the TV producer in me, right? That's like, I want to help the host have a close result. Because I understand, okay, if I pile my vote onto the person who's clearly winning and it's like 6-1, 7 is like that's not as fun. But maybe I'll vote for the person who I think doesn't have a chance. One, it's like kind of nice to them, like they feel like they didn't lose by as much. And also then for the host, it's like, ooh, like this is a really close result, you guys. So I'm sorry to say, Justin, I would have voted for Tom. There's no comment on your game. It was very clear during Final Tribal that you were starting to run away with it. So sorry, it would have been 5-3 if I was on the jury. Another friend of the show, Joe Sorrentino, asks, what inspired you to create this live game? So love that question. Like I said, I had hosted one of these from 2013 to 2015. I was in college then, filmed them during the summers. And I kind of, by the end of it, I was really burnt out on it. I was like, that was a lot of work. I had no money. I was just a little college student, right? Like resources were so limited. That's kind of like I feel like I've like seen enough. I get the gist. I see what I'm capable of. And then like years pass, and I continue to have anxiety nightmares about like being in a park and like a challenge piece has gone missing that we desperately need for the final 7 immunity challenge. It's kind of like, all right, this is clearly not going away. And like, this is just part of what I'm about at this point, for better or worse. Um, so, coming out of the pandemic and realizing like, all right, like I'm a real adult now. I have resources. I know a decent number of Survivor fans, and I also have like a pretty good network of people who just kind of like to be part of projects that I'm doing. I don't know if that sounds braggy or not, but like you know, just to kind of have people that are like, oh, like Dylan's doing a thing and like he promises it'll be fun. Yeah, like I'm liable to believe him. It probably is going to be fun. Uh, so I just felt like we had like the right kind of people that we could get in the mix, and then plenty of people, a lot more people than I would have expected reached out to participate that I did not know prior to this, or that I barely knew who reached out. Like that was really incredible to see people who I hadn't like talked to in years who were like, yeah, I'll give this a shot. I think also in a way, uh, I really like Survivor the game. I find Survivor the show to be a little lacking at times. I'm a hater. I'll say it. um, so I kind of am like, I love this premise is so good. I'm just gonna do it my way. I think you can see watching Millennium Park. I'm drawing a lot of inspiration from the early seasons of Survivor. I think you look at Millennium Park season 1. There's a very obvious Survivor Borneo analogy. Actually, an applicant for season 2. When we were in the casting process, he sent me a very sweet message. Sorry, you can hear my dog whining. She's a little rat dog. You can catch her hidden in the finale of season 1. Haha. A very sweet fan sent me a message was sort of like I feel like you kind of did a Survivor Borneo and kind of a breakdown of like who are the players, like what is, like some of them are really like a one-to-one analogy of like this Millennium Park player is this Borneo player. I listened to the Survivor Historians podcast to kind of get like that perspective of like what was the perception of these seasons as they were airing, and kind of taking that into account. I think of the merge vote in season 1 of Survivor and the merge vote in season 1 of Survivor Millennium Park. I really wanted those to feel similar. The very, very quick and probably messy TLDR version of this is that in season 1 of Survivor Borneo, like the most beloved contestant gets voted out. It's a crazy blindside. The audience is outraged. Like, how could this happen? Like, the game has gone wrong. The game has turned. And I kind of wanted a similar feeling for season 1 of Millennium Park, because I felt like the role that the merge boot from season 1 played was very simple. Like, this is a person who, by all accounts, can and should have won a game like this. Like a competent, smart person, physically capable of competing in something like this, mentally, socially, everything, like the complete package, taken out, by the circumstances of the game. So I kind of want to create that same feeling of like, this isn't fun that this happened. I don't know. Maybe that's not a silly point for this, but like I kind of like to lean into like the sad part of like what a tribal council is. Season 1 in particular, people get voted out and it's dead silent in tribal council. I think any of the players in the chat want to confirm this for me. People sat there in just like stunned silence, like, wow, we really just voted out that person who said that this was like her lifelong dream. Damn, that sucked. So I kind of wanted to lean into the idea of like, something bad has happened at this vote. The game has changed in an irreversible way, and maybe this isn't a good thing. Maybe this doesn't reflect well on the concept of Survivor. So that's kind of the long rambly version. Very interested, sort of like the history of Survivor and like how can I use that in Millennium Park. And I continue to this season in ways that I'm really excited for. I see Tony in the chat. Final 6, you can hear a pin drop. Absolutely. The you know there were like people got voted out season 1 and there was no like there like I can think of like the first time I hosted one of these, right? Like people get voted out and it's like, oh haha, you got me. My brother played a couple of my original games, and when they got voted out of Survivor Berkshire's All Stars, they like ripped their shirt off in front of everybody, like cursed out the rest of the tribe. Like there was none of that. It was just like tense and uncomfy in a way that like I was like, we're gonna lean into this. Like we're not gonna shy away from like something bad has happened at tribal council. So it's kind of like I'm really trying to keep this close to 30. We're wrapping up soon. My last question that I have, Johnton, because Johnton always submits questions whenever we do these. Johnton wants to know, are Johnton and Zach still close? No, Johnton was actually sent to the Arctic to study penguins shortly after filming wrapped up, and I haven't seen him since. But I hope he's doing okay. No, Johnton and Zach are still friends. I'm in a group chat with Johnton and Zach that Zach started. Thanks for that, Zach. Really appreciate that. But yes, they are still to this day the best of friends. And as Tony said in the chat, best move of season 1, Johnton kicking the tree. I mean, like, come on. I challenge you, rest of the live reality games community. What other Survivor game are you going to watch with a minute and a half dedicated in 2 separate episodes to a man punching a tree? I challenge you. I challenge you. Oh my goodness. I know. I pride myself on the fact that my seasons are so snappy, and yet I'm like, but we can spend 30 seconds letting them walk into tribal council. Gotta let it breathe. All right. So thanks to everybody who submitted questions, and thanks to everybody who hung out in the chat. I'm now excited to share. Let me try to share my screen here for this video. Like I said, we had a special guest appear on this season. There's a former Survivor player who I connected with through the Live Reality Games podcast, funny enough, who said, you know what, like I'm not reaching out to compete, but if there's something I can do to like help in some way, I'd love to do that. So without any further ado, I am gonna go ahead and bear with me here, people, please. Come on, this is like a Zoom meeting between the 6 of us. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and play this little video. I'm very excited to welcome to the park Jillian from Survivor Gabon.
Part of another Survivor. In case you don't know, I'm Jillian from Survivor Gabon. It was 2008. I was 61 when I got on. I never gave up. I applied for 8 years, 20 applications, and knew that when the timing was right for me, they would pick me, and that's what happened. Yeah, Survivor was a great experience. Yes, it was tough. There's no toilet paper. There's basically no food. You pee in the bushes, which is actually a lot easier because here you have to go find the porta potty. So Survivor is actually easier in a lot of ways. But it was worth every minute of it. And everything in life is worth what you do to put into it. It's not always just the journey. The destination was Survivor briefly, but since then, I've done over 500 speaking engagements, and I run a very big charity event called Reality Rally. We have raised over $1 million for a cancer resource center. That's what Survivor did for me. What is life going to do for each one of you? So thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. Let's give Dylan and his enormous crew, which gives CBS a run for their money, a big cheer. Hooray!
All right, so that's your little extra preview of the season premiere. That's right, Jillian from Survivor Gabon came to the park to join us. It was such an incredible experience. I had actually met Jillian at a watch party for the premiere of Survivor 41, where she said, "Oh, after this, I'm doing a live stream with Live Reality Games," and I was like, "Oh, I follow them on Facebook. That's so cool." And then when I did a post-episode recap later in it must have been Survivor 41 also. Justin and I from season 1 of Millennium Park did a live post-episode recap. I gave her a little shout out in the comments. She noticed, she dropped me a message. It was like, if you do another one of those, like, keep me posted. Would love to help in some way. Going to release a deleted scene, I think, after episode 1. Not only did Jillian come to like spend her morning at the park with us, give a wonderful talk to the players, she actually also, did a little bit of a Q&A with them, a little bit of show and tell. She brought some of her props from Survivor Gabon to show off, wore the exact same outfit, which she assured us still smells like campfires. She gave these really lovely little packets to all of the players and crew with her card on them that I think, I should have grabbed my card for this. It's like says like dream big, like what her mantra is. She gave those out to all the players. She gave a little I'm forgetting what it was in the bags, but she gave a really sweet trinket to the players, representative of her time as Survivor, and she also gave each of them in the little bag a rock. And one player got, I think it was the black rock, which indicated that that person was chosen by the Survivor gods to win. So we'll reveal that as well, and we can find out as we watch the season, were the Survivor gods right? Was I right? Was Zach, my co-producer, whose winner pick is also in our cast assessment video on our YouTube channel now, was he right? Did any of us figure out who won this thing before it even started? So really can't say enough how appreciative I am to Jillian for taking the time. She was such a fun addition. You could hear some of, when you watch the first challenge, you'll hear some of her commentary in that, which was a lot of fun to have her side by side with me. Jeff Probsting the first challenge. So I think that just about does it. Thanks to everybody for hanging out. Really appreciate seeing some familiar names in the chat. Hope those of you who are watching this later, because people don't watch things live anymore. It's all about like the 3 days afterwards, right? That's why viewership is declining in television all across the world. Hope you all enjoy. Hope this gave you a little bit of like, what is the vibe of Survivor Millennium Park? Season premiere in the little banner right here, Sunday, January 29th. Episode 1 is going live at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then for the next 10 weeks after that, new episodes every Sunday at 10. So make sure to check it out. I would dare to say I think we've got a really exceptional season ready to share with you all. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Like and subscribe to the live reality games. They do really amazing work. Thanks again to Dustin and the rest of the team here for making this happen. Really super appreciate it. And who knows, maybe we'll stream with you guys again sometime. So all right, I'm gonna figure out how to end this, and we'll call it a night. Thanks everybody. Bye.